to my Instagram.
What do you want to tell Joe Biden right now?
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner.
Hey, yo.
Just got an awesome face paint job. What do you think?
I like turtles.
I'm sorry,
Gonna make a deal with this diabolical bitch.
We ain't saying no more.
If you're back.
We are here live at the world premiere of Justice League.
This is
The Justice League.
And welcome to the Justice League podcast show, episode number, what, 8?
10.
10?
We're on 10.
Yep,
Damn,
10.
This is the magical 10.
I've been gone for a while.
We are back in the building. Tribe, it's nice to see you.
Oh, yes, it's nice to see you guys.
We kind of missed you last night, man.
Oh,
yeah, that's a bummer. I really wanted to do that. I did. You guys did excellent, though. So, I mean,
Man,
I
had them
represented the show
smoking.
well.
I hope they get in here. I had them smoking out there.
Yeah, we were talking to them about having. We'll introduce, but yes.
Yeah, then we'll get into that. That was my bad.
Yes. It's welcome to the Justice League podcast show. Your boy Tribe,
Freddie Dub, Big Drac. We have
Prince Lockett in his bitch.
And we have a special guest today,
Dr. Michael Uphues.
Mr.
I'm gonna have some
Dr. Mike.
I'm gonna have some things
Dr.
I
Mike
need to talk to you
it.
about because
Absolutely.
I've heard all good things in my book, and I'm a heavy.
We definitely, one of the things we like to do, Dr. Mike, you mind if I call you Dr. Mike?
Yeah,
Like that to
absolutely,
be
sir.
Dr. Mike.
No, just call me Mike. Mike is good.
Mike is okay. Mike,
Oh, absolutely.
Can you give us a little history of what you do? And then we'll kind of like roll it back on how you got into that and, building something like that in this community, kind of
Sure.
how you did that. So we'll just start with just a little synopsis or a history on you and some things that you've done, because Craig is my friend, so we've had some conversations, and you have a pretty amazing life and existence on a few spectrums. So I'd like to get into some of that with you, if that's okay.
I appreciate it. Absolutely. So I'm originally from Chicago. I was born and raised there on the west side, Loretto Hospital. So it's on the west side in the Austin neighborhood. And then family moved to the western suburb, just west of there, called Berwyn and Cicero. Everybody knows Capone was based out of Cicero, actually.
Okay.
You probably know, back in the day. So that's where I grew up, born, raised, and then went to a all guys Catholic high school there, Fenwick High School, very, very great parochial school. Crazy stuff went on there, swimming naked, gym class, and all that kind of stuff you had to do, which was really crazy. Oh yeah,
swimming
straight
naked,
straight
gym
up.
class.
Well, so in gym class, when I was there, this is back in the early '80s, so in 1981. So as a freshman. In gym, and I was on a swim team and water polo team. I played college water polo for the Illini later on. But in gym classes, so this is not the swim team, but in gym class, because it was tradition in this Catholic school, you were lined up on the deck naked, and some kids learned how to swim in that environment, which was really crazy. But the coaches just taught, if you didn't know how to swim and you were petrified, they just tossed them in. And then guys like me and guys on the swim team would help them out. It was, but you're all naked. It was crazy. It was like a crazy thing.
That is just the thought of trying to.
I'm never swimming naked with no man. I'm just letting you know that. But swimming naked
this
with no
wasn't
man.
by choice, man. This was not by choice.
Dan, what are you grabbing? What are you doing? That's
It's
not the ball. It is, not the one that you're.
So some class. So if you didn't participate, you got.
So there was no not part. So it's an interesting thing, guys. This is 1981. So first of all of our parents sent us to this place because they believed primarily in the educational excellence, which it was. There's no question about that system. Yeah. It's a very classically based education. It's not like you learn a trade, which, again, which is right or wrong. Just a very classically based education. But it was very tradition based. So it's like, whatever we say goes. You toe the line. You do what we say, or you get hit. You get held. You knee on the gym floor, kind of stuff. It was corporal punishment. I mean, they beat the crap out of you if you took exception off, you mouthed off, or acted differently. You were hit.
It was very authoritarian.
Very much so.
I just want to point out, Dr. Michael Uphues, man, you got some motion. There's a lot of viewers compared to when we are up and running. What you got going on?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but no. So I can tell you. So just you gotta put yourself in that position. What's important is like as a boy. I mean, you go in there as a boy and you come out, quote, a man at 18, but God, as a boy, you're not even growing hair yet, literally. Right. I mean, some of these guys. So It was so embarrassing. It was demeaning. It was degrading, and that whole Catholic church and the schools were based on guilt, shame, and fear. Guilt, shame, fear.
Right.
And there was enough of it where it just boxed you in a corner and you just cowered away. So, but anyway, that goes back to kind of high school. And then I went to the University of Illinois at Urbana, and I played college water polo for 5 years. I did 6 years there. I taught anatomy for a couple of years to undergraduate students before I went to medical school.
So did the water polo, push you into anatomy?
No. So
I mean, not the water polo.
The swim
team.
The swim. No, not at all. I mean, I was so my favorite course during my undergrad was anatomy. So then I got offered. Here's the reason. There was a dual reason, as you guys know. I mean, I came from, believe me, guys, no money. I mean, when I say no money, I mean no money. I'm from it's a big Catholic family, 6 kids. My father worked in the plumbing industry in Chicago for 63 years. And I can tell you back in the 70s, he brought home, and my mom was staying at home, about $17,000 a year for 6 kids. So you can, I don't know what that would equate to now, but I mean, they were stretched, man. I mean, it was tough.
No, it wasn't steak every night for sure.
I know. No.
So does your family still live in Illinois?
Yeah. So my 5 siblings are still back there. I have one sister who's just across the border in Wisconsin, right outside of Milwaukee. But yeah, everybody's still back right around the neighborhood I grew up in. And we sold a house and we're in that house 55 years. So I grew up the same. Wow. A lot of people can say that either. So I grew up in that same house. And we sold it after my mom died. She got killed from the COVID shots back in 2022. I went back to care for her, and all my siblings were there. But she died as a result of the Moderna shots, and it's a really unfortunate thing. Maybe that's the topic for later too. But
no, that's an interesting topic.
It is a very interesting topic because the evidence is forever mounting. You're not going to probably hear it in the mainstream. I was one of America's frontline doctors, and I'm involved in the Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance, which was founded actually 4 years ago yesterday by Pierre Corey and Dr. Paul Merrick. And so I've been involved with these guys for a long time. So you guys probably heard of people like Dr. Peter McCullough and people that have been huge proponents for therapeutics and so forth in intervening early in COVID. So I've been involved with that group. I started prescribing hydroxychloroquine for people back in February of 2020 because we saw some papers that were put out by Dr. Fauci, of all people, back in 2005. So he put out a paper through the NIH with other authors, but that hydroxychloroquine, and if you add zinc in especially, was effective against SARS-CoV-1. And we thought, well, wow, if it's effective against SARS-CoV-1, which is 80% similar to CoV-2,
right,
let's give it a whirl. Well, so I had to hire another physician who I knew from Miles City, Montana, because we got it like this overnight, guys. It was crazy because our business tripled because people put us on Facebook groups and so forth, and they're like, you treat COVID? Because everybody, as you know, there was such fear mongering. People didn't know where to go. And the doctors who worked at the mainstream, hospitals and big hospital systems, they simply would not prescribe. And so I'm like, well, I thought we took the Hippocratic Oath. I thought our job description was like save lives and stamp out illness. Like, let's get at it. This is like a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer.
I agree. My sister obviously, as they know, perished in that also.
Oh my
And so
goodness! Sorry.
I'm
Sorry.
I understand what you had to deal with that. It's such a hazy, especially from the government hierarchy deal, how they did that, and very hazy, very, I don't know if there's any time else in history that we put something on the public at the rate that we did without actually having information.
You're the first man that actually has said this to me. Like patients, I think they know intuitively. No, this is historic, and I'm telling you right now, what has gone on with the vaccine, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. But in 1 year, 2021, 2022, all-cause mortality, and this is not a conspiracy, nothing like that. This is from actuarial science through the insurance companies. That's how we know about this.
Right.
All-cause mortality went up 40% in 1 year.
Wow.
10% would be a 1 in 200 year experience. So what's 40%? This is historic, and it's just getting going because now the amount of cancer, especially turbo cancers we're seeing, autoimmune disease, cardiovascular disease, myocarditis, clotting, thromboembolism, you name it. But this is what's happening right now. So
so you think that there's, and we're not saying conspiracy. So you got to say that now because every
I already prefaced it. It's not. This is actuarial science.
The point I was going to make is it would seem that there's a component with the medical industry to get more people taking more things based on this thing they gave you that causes these ailments now, and now that you're going to have to deal in the future with these ailments that with this vaccine or whatever that they put in you, that now you're dealing with issues
that's only going to pump more money into the coffers.
I mean, and I have, you have circumstantial, or whatever, evidence. I know people that totally healthy, most of their lives got that vaccine, and all of a sudden they had, appendicitis that was this really rare stuff that it burst, and it's just weird. Just some weird stuff happened with it, right? That's
or
not
appendiceal
normal,
cancer.
Right?
Appendiceal
And
cancer.
it's like it's there's just a lot of stuff that that we don't know. We didn't have time to know. It's like you're putting something. What did COVID come online in October really of 2019? Is that when it really exploded?
So if you think about this, so this is an interesting thing. The people that were behind this, if anybody can look this up. Just look up Event 201. So this occurred in October of 2019, like you're pointing out. And what they did, WHO, I think World Economic Forum was involved, but they did a simulation of a release of a coronavirus into the general population and what a pandemic would look like and how we would respond. That was October of 2019. So this went right by the public. Anyone can look this up. It's there. So they're not even trying to actually guess what they were going to do and went ahead and did it. And then people acted surprised. I'm like, they're not even trying to hide this. This is out for everyone to see. And just this last year, by the way, they just did another simulation, which is you're hearing about disease X now. Well, they already did another one. And so there are several pathogens in the pipeline that docs like myself and the FLCCC, America's Frontline Doctors, we're already looking at, and we already know how to counter them. Although the press and big pharma and the government will tell you there's no way to counter these things, that's completely false, and we're already ahead of it.
So I got to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, guys.
So there, like COVID, there is a cure or not a cure.
So here's the thing: when in history, and brought this up eloquently earlier, when in history, if you have a pandemic, we're going to sit around and wait for therapeutic. We know we've got early interventions that are not harmful. Clearly, they have not been harmful. We've had people on hydroxychloroquine. I've had 25 years, my patients, who have rheumatoid arthritis or lupus.
Is hydroxychloroquine, is that hydros, like what they're called in the streets?
No.
Oh, no.
Well, so what are you talking about?
Hydroxychloroquine. So the brand name is Plaquenil. So if we would call in a prescription for patients, we'd typically say Plaquenil, a couple hundred milligrams once or twice a day, and that was it. So no, that's hydrocodone is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is hydroxychloroquine. So it comes from quinine. So if you think about chloroquine, so chloroquine is another derivative. It goes all the way back to quinine. So what we found, though, it was originally an anti-malarial parasitic substance, but they found that when they gave it to people that had parasites that were also like rheumatic patients, that their joint pain got better. So over time, it morphs into, yes, it was something for malaria, and they still use it for malaria. But we also now use it commonly for autoimmune diseases, especially rheumatoid arthritis and lupus.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But here's the thing. So what we found is, and it's interesting because Fauci found this, and so did Dr. Ralph Baric, Baric, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, who actually was involved in coming up with a bioweapon that we were all exposed to. He came up with the genetic sequences that made it more transmissible to humans, which means he's complicit in gain of function research. There's no question about it. And he's being prosecuted right now. They're going after him. We're going to keep going after him. He should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity, for the deaths that he's caused and are going to continue to cause. But anyway, he also put out a paper regarding the use of hydroxychloroquine and zinc. And here's the way it works. Hydroxychloroquine opens up channels in the cells, places in the cells, allowing the zinc to enter. So it's a positive, what we call a positive ionophore. And when those channels open and the zinc gets in, the zinc actually shuts down the replication of the virus. So we knew that starting as early as your symptoms started, you could knock this out. They could have had that thing wrapped up within months. And of course, when Trump had said he was taking it, then it became, then it just blew up and it became like the devil's drug, which was really unfortunate because he knew the doctors that were prescribing it, and we had the papers. We already had the papers, but they wouldn't release those papers. And so we got hushed. I mean, I put several videos up, even on the use of vitamin D, vitamin C, quercetin, zinc. All those got taken down. I'm like, I've never been censored before. This is like interesting. So you're over the target if you're getting censored. You really do.
Yeah. So like how your was a lot of people coming to you for the hydrochloroquine?
Thousands.
They're
Thousands.
they're in
Thousands.
COVID.
Look, I went up to, so I was I spent some of that here. Some of it was done in Florida. I'm licensed in 7 different states, and so some of it I spent in Florida, but most of it went online. We were doing virtual visits because everybody was petrified to go to a doctor's office. I mean, they were petrified to go outside their houses, and so my practice went from it tripled overnight, and I was doing consults for that for part of 2020, all of 2021, part of 22, sometimes till 11 o'clock at night. So I'd start early in the morning, and I had one other doc out of Miles City who we had to hire because, and luckily she was on board. Great doc, Dr. Christy Drivdahl, amazing. So we treated over 9,000 people, and no one died. So we knew it's like anything we're hearing, this is all bullshit. I mean, to say that this is not working, interesting, because none of our people are going to the hospital and dying. They're all getting better. So you guys are full of it, and you can say whatever you want. You can present whatever fake research you want, which they did. They doctored it, and it's like I'm simply not listening. I'm going with what's working. I'm seeing my patients in real time, and there's no denying that it's saving them. So I'm not going to.
I feel like a lot of the research on a lot of illnesses have been doctored the last few years.
It's not only the last few. You bring up an amazing
the history of it. It's always been.
Well, you guys bring up an amazing point. In medical school, think about this. We didn't question a thing. It's just kind of like the Catholic school thing. Right? You don't question. So they're like, okay, read the MMWR, read the New England Journal of Medicine, and read the Annals of Internal Medicine. Then you've got everything you need to know. And we followed it religiously. It's like, if you want to go back to the quote, real sources of what to do as a doctor, go to those sources and, follow them to the letter, and then you're a good doctor. What we found out later, you guys are exactly right. They were, even back then, doctored because I never looked at like who funded them. You start looking at it, well, Pfizer. Oh, I see. Well, I never thought about that until this whole thing broke. So,
right.
Yeah, amazing.
Right. It's amazing how there's a correlation and a connection between these things that have went back in history. And, I had a conversation one time with someone in the medical industry some years ago about some of this stuff, and I'm going to ask you as a medical professional what you think about this. They said normally when strains of any virus or whatever metastasizes, it takes time for it to turn into something else. Normally, because of antibiotics, there are things that makes it metastasize. The way that COVID has metastasized as quickly as it has into these different things, what they were telling me is there's an unusualness to that. Not that it can't happen, but there's a very unusualness of these strains that continue to
I'm ready
This is
to
a great
talk about
conversation.
some
This is a
Oh, we're
great
gonna do it.
conversation. So,
Oh, yeah.
and I think
Cannabis thing would be real
allowing
interesting. We're
allowing
gonna do it.
folks to have some information on some of this because it's so clouded and
Well,
down.
we'll point out too, people really need, what I want to emphasize, do your own due diligence. That's the real thing.
That was my big
Right.
thing during
Do your own.
during that was I was trying to do a lot of my own research, but
Yes.
a lot of the stuff I was looking up still I came to find out was it was wrong.
So,
So it's I feel like you have to just go see a doctor like you that would know the facts and kind of send you to the right places to do your research.
okay, yeah. So we're back on. So are you anti-vax?
So the last vaccines I received was probably a flu vaccine at some point, but we're talking 30 years ago. So, so think about this though. So there's another thing going back to my childhood, and then we can compare it to now. So the childhood vaccine regimen when I was growing, I was born in 1967. So when I was growing up, the childhood vaccine regimen consisted of, it was 12 immunizations. You know what it is now?
It's
78.
I was going to say.
All right,
it's
this is
dozens of them.
madness.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're talking multivalent vaccines and all this. We need 78 vaccines to be healthy. Is our population, are the kids healthier now than they were back then? Absolutely not. This is madness. This is complete craziness, and it needs to stop. So no, I'm not anti-vax, but I mean I'm anti-unnecessary vax. Like this is there's a threshold, and this is crazy.
So, do you think the vaccine is also a cause of SIDS?
I think probably not only we know with the current one, but also autism and
What's
likely
SIDS?
autoimmune and other things. There's no question about
What's
this.
SIDS?
Sudden infant.
That's
Okay,
syndrome.
that's what I thought you were talking about. I just
Correct.
didn't know for sure.
Because I have a son that died of SIDS. Well, it was a Saturday night going to Sunday, but Friday he got his vaccine. So we
Really sorry to hear it.
You've always
Believe me.
wondered
Yeah,
that
we-
had
we-
something to
yes.
do with that,
Yeah.
right?
Thing is, and what they prey upon and know is that like, can I prove that? Can you? You can't prove it, and so that's the real conundrum. And you do them anyway. You can't. So it's a real conundrum. But so anti-vax, no. However, this one got my attention, as it did any doctor who was thinking at all, because how do you're going to roll out a vaccine within months? I mean, this had obviously been in the making for years. We knew that we found that out in the aftermath, obviously. But you can't roll out a vaccine and especially a new technology like this.
There's a and I heard this and I know you know this. So I guess the comparison that we have on a with in our population of a vaccine, they typically go to polio. That's the one that they kind of use, like we can do this or whatever. The part that they leave out is how long they got from the research that they were doing to the mass rollout of the polio vaccine. It was a while. It's what I understand. It wasn't at the rate that they did this thing.
No.
And I think that it's a apples to oranges kind of a comparison when it comes to that, because polio was something that had ravaged the population for an extended period of time before we got to the polio vaccine.
Correct.
Now, you have people even to this day that are on the side that I don't know about the polio vaccine. I think it caused other things down the road too, which, like you said, who's to know any of that? But when you're making the comparison with how they delivered the polio vaccine to what they did with the COVID vaccine, it's night and day. It's not even the same thing. So in the history of us, or even in the history of man, has there ever been anything that has been put on the public at that rate or that massive, that quickly?
Never. This is it's a way bigger atrocity than what went on in Nazi Germany, what went on in Fields, bosses by, like I said, all-cause mortality going up by 40%. This is unprecedented. There isn't any doubt about that. So, no, nothing has been unleashed upon the public. And keep in mind, under the Declaration of Helsinki, 1964, and the Nuremberg Code going back to 46, this absolutely had a choice, not been restricted or anything else. It's an experimental vaccine. The people that perpetrated this need to be put in front of tribunals and prosecuted, period. Because that's the thing. People go back to, it's unconstitutional. No, this is a human rights issue. This goes back to the Declaration of Helsinki and the Nuremberg Code. And according to the Nuremberg Code, you are not to force experimental therapies upon a population of anyone.
Of
any person. Any person.
Persons. Yes.
It's an international law. This is international law. Crazy.
So, yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to talk about some of this. This is information that I think that people need to have. People typically with this, the way it's going is we can see kind of what's going on with all this stuff. No, people aren't blind, and to give them a chance. They're not dumb if you put the correct information in front of them. There was so much misinformation floating through that time that you got a lot of people that took a vaccine that they when they seen it first, you wouldn't get COVID. And somehow in the matter of months that changed to, well, it reduces the likeliness of getting COVID, which that's a huge lie, right? That's a red flag is not going to get any more red than that right there. So
no, you're 100% right. And then the next step was, well, it'll mitigate symptoms. They kept stepping it back until you found out people that were multiply jabbed still got COVID. So it's like, if this is so effective, then why are they getting COVID? It's not, guys, please. This doesn't take a rocket scientist, a doctor, or any medical person. This is common sense. This thing did not work. It was a huge failure. And the fact that Trump will not even admit now, which really, I know his ego is massive, whatnot, and that's fine. But look, just admit Operation Warp Speed was a debacle that did not work. Admit it.
Yeah.
You effed up, and you effed up big time, man.
Yeah.
Biggest failure by far of his president. There was no question. Biggest failure.
Yeah.
So
he should have fired Fauci. And that's the thing. Like everybody knows Fauci was higher paid than Trump was, right? Everybody knows this. He was the highest paid federal employee in the history of our country, Fauci. And so, Trump kind of kowtowed, and as tough as he can, be and the persona he can put on, Mr. You're fired. He should have said, you're fired, dude. Like you are fucking up. And this guy's been fucking up for a long time. Look, Look what happened during HIV, what he did with AZT. Look what he did. By the way, remdesivir, that's another one of his brain children that is part of the protocol that hospitals are still using. They originally used that for the Ebola virus, and it killed 52% of the people. That's the protocol? We're going to kill 52% right off the... This is madness, complete madness.
It's amazing you can, with numbers like that
they're
people
out there for
sign
anybody.
up with that. And a lot of times because people don't do their due diligence to read the fine print.
Correct.
Like always read the fine print. My father told me anything, read the fine print. Before you buy anything,
And
read the fine print.
Right.
And make sure you're okay with whatever the fine, because the fine print is where the money is at.
Especially whenever
your agreement.
Well, as a man, whenever you meet a lady, look at that fine print, baby.
look at the fine print.
Look at that fine print there, you know.
Yeah.
That's all I'm telling you.
I can roll with that one, my friend. Let's do it.
Saying.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pivot a little bit. We're gonna
right.
come back to that. You do
Are
some
you going to talk about what I was going to talk
yeah,
about?
yeah. You do some other stuff.
So we got Craig. Hello, test. We got Craig in the chats. Is it good to see you?
Yeah, do you want to go through all the chats real quick?
Yeah.
Starting at the top.
Craig, our sponsor with Hensel Law, our official sponsor of the Justice League podcast.
See, I was going to say
Appreciate
something. I
it.
just didn't want to
Yes,
interject
get
in
him
the
a golf clap
conversation.
on Mr. Craig. Yes.
And on top of that,
We also have-
our other sponsor is
Yep.
Bullwhackers.
And Bullwhackers.
Just sitting there. What's
Yeah. So Bullwhackers.
Casino and Lounge. Yes.
Casino Lounge.
Smoking
vape.
we got.
So we got Craig. We got Blake and we got Steezy in here.
I'll do it.
We got Steezy. Who else? We got Sebastian Weaver. Said good podcast, guys. We got Mr. Sandwich King himself. Tucker.
Yes,
Mr.
go get some
Tucker.
top sandwiches,
Go
guys. I've
eat
been
at
eating
Tops.
it to
Fantastic.
survive.
Yes, get over there. They have the $5 chicken nachos. Those nachos are huge.
Every Saturday, right?
Nachos
Every
are fire.
Yes, but
Nachos are fire.
for the price, you get a lot.
And
of
they
food.
put good seasonings on that motherfucker.
Yes, and that then
That's the king of it.
and we have Hill in the chat. She said, finally, a doctor who sees the COVID vaccine, something that did so much damage. I don't vaccine my kids in general.
We're kind of the same way.
But my research on how fast they push the mRNA
mRNA,
vaccine.
It's I think that we have probably right now the greatest percentage of people that don't trust vaccines probably in our history, and it's because, like you said, Mike, we're always been a population. You tell us to do it, we do it. You tell us to do it, we do it. There's not much questioning, and we've been conditioned over the years to operate like that. But as you start to look at things and what you went through, Tribe, with your son, and you start to say,
you don't vaccinate.
There's some stuff on stuff, man. It's not what they're prescribing it to be.
So as a doctor, did you try pushing the vaccine on people, or if someone came to you about the vaccine, did you
are 100% dissuaded people.
Dissuaded
at 100%.
I didn't get it.
Did not recommend.
I didn't get it. I got sick a couple times, I think, with COVID. I never got tested because I wanted to keep working, and my boss said it was fine. So
yeah,
I never got tested.
And that was another interesting part of this whole equation, guys. You look back to like March 2020, April 2020, when they started doing, remember all the mass testing, whether you were symptomatic, not symptomatic. All right. So where were the original testing kits from? They were from China. So immediately I'm thinking, that takes a microsecond to figure it out. It's like, okay, it came from China. We know this. So you're taking a swab and you're putting that, and you don't, what's on the end of that swab? I mean, now, has that been, no, it's not been proven. But the fact is, if you're not thinking about that, you're not thinking. Like, you're not oxygenating, you're devoid of cerebration. Is all I can say.
So
there's no synaptic continuity.
So the COVID came from China, they say.
No, it's proven. And let me
He didn't like the quotes. Try put them down.
Here it comes. This was developed by Dr. Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Period. He did the gain of function research in our own country. Fauci gave $3.5 million to Echo Health Alliance, whose president was Dr. Peter Daszak, and Daszak took it and gave it to the Wuhan lab, and out comes the coronavirus. That's what happened. It's been proven time and time again. You can go through the emails. You can go. This is how it happened.
So it didn't come from the bats and the pigs.
Yeah, they think a bat fucked a pangolin. This whole thing is ridiculous. It is they did.
So
Oh,
okay,
bat fucked the pangolin, and now it's transmitted to humans. Guys,
Isn't that the Ebola
the joke
argument too? That
Ebola was a
course.
monkey.
You
It's a
ate,
joke.
You ate a monkey or something. Whatever happened, and
It's a joke.
wow, we got Ebola. That's not. No, it's not a bioweapon. Clearly, somebody created this thing somewhere. No, it. I was eating a green monkey. Got sick. So there's green monkeys jumping around. Where
me know a lot about the COVID research and all that. So did they just push it out to like test this COVID? Like, okay, let's put it out to everyone that got sick, or did someone?
No. This was pushed out for several reasons, and we believe now. Obviously, it was to take some people out, obviously, but also to sell the vaccine. The end game was selling the vaccine. Look, the first year. Look,
yes,
the first year of the rollout. So between J&J, Moderna, Pfizer, first year.
So like the big pharma
Those are the three that were out in this country, because J&J, as we all know now, that's been eliminated. Why? Oh, it was causing clotting. Oh, but the others don't. Oh, just because that was an adenovirus vector. That's the difference. No, they all cause clotting. This whole thing is ridiculous. But they took J&J off the market. But the first year of the rollout, between those three companies, they made $90 billion. So you think they're going to give that up? They're not going to give up, man. That's too much money. It's too much power, and they're hitting docs like me, the little guys, like they're shouting us down, censoring us. Like, what do? We don't have that kind of capital. I mean, that's $90 billion. You're fighting. It's David and Goliath. It's David and Goliath.
Can you? On this level, like you said, can you fight that?
Yeah. So there's an organization. There are several lawyers out there doing this, but the organization is called Make Americans Free Again. And Pam Popper, who's a naturopath out of Columbus, Ohio, is heading this up. They're suing the crap out of everybody. They've got lawsuits. I mean, they're suing Fauci. They're suing Peter Daszak, who I talked about. They're suing them all. So these lawsuits, that's the thing. You don't hear about it. These lawsuits are certainly in play. And you probably heard the most recent one down in Texas. Dr. Mary Kelly Bowden, a friend of mine, I know her. So she was fired. License was taken because she started prescribing ivermectin. And this was because the FDA, remember, put out that tweet. Everybody remembers the tweet. Y'all not a horse. Stop it, y'all. You're not a horse. Do not prescribe. So what the FDA, their argument was, oh, we didn't say doctors couldn't. We were recommending that they not. Oh, no, guys. But no, they got caught. They got, because of the tweets they did put out, no, they were caught red-handed, and they had to actually take it down. But for me, that's not near enough. Oh, so the FDA, this huge organization, they had to take down a few completely fake, false lies that they put up. No, that's not enough. That's not enough blood for my liking. I want every doctor that was affected by this, every person, to be compensated by.
Agreed. Reputation. There's so much that was
it damaged her. It damaged her so badly.
Yes, I agree.
So Hill says, man, people thought I was crazy when I was talking about the equal health conspiracy, but you can literally look up the funding online and follow the money.
Correct.
Always follow the money.
And
he's right.
She says she thinks her opinion thinks the COVID was a population control.
Yeah. So, and that's obviously that's circular. There's no question about it. When you have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as some of obviously the second largest, I think, contributor to WHO, we know who's running the show. I mean, and if you don't know that, then again, you're not doing your own due diligence. You got to do your own due diligence.
COVID was one of and I guess the conspiracy, but I do believe there is some biggest exercise on how to implement modern martial law, what the population would do, how you push it, how they move, so that from a governmental standpoint, you know what you need to do, where you need to put your men on the board to accomplish this or whatever. And I think that we didn't do ourselves any service with this by, emptying out aisles of toilet paper. I don't like, if you just looked at the way that we all operated, that this. I think that what they think, or the people in the know and the people with the power, thought, oh my God, this is going to even be much easier than we think it is to get them.
You bring up a really good point, and let me bring this one, because when this comes up again, and it's going to, but this applies to any respiratory infection, sinus infection you have. You bring up an interesting point. At the beginning of all this madness, we all remember everybody's running out of hand sanitizer and toilet paper, right? You heard it over, and it was like
rubbing alcohol. It was gone.
It was a rubbing, rubbing alcohol. It was a broken record. Hand sanitizer, and I'm like, okay. So I was talking to Dr. Peter McCullough. This was beginning of 2021. So we started coming up with these protocols. He especially, and then the research was actually done. But we found, okay, now the coronavirus sets up in your nose, the nasopharynx, the back of your throat, the back of your nose, and then your throat, your pharynx. Okay, so that's where it sets up and starts to proliferate and reproduce. Okay, and then it gets deeper into the lungs. All right, so why don't we try some Listerine gargles, or you can gargle with 1% iodine, and try some 1% iodine nasal spray. How about knock it out where it's living and just see if that doesn't work? So we're not saying don't use hand sanitizer or use toilet paper correctly. What I am saying is you're sanitizing the wrong hole. Try sanitizing your nose and throat instead of your ass, and just see if this doesn't work out better for you. I mean, again,
I even hear outside of this, Mike, there's a lot of that going on. People, not sanitizing the right hole. So with that having been said, what I will say too is one of the most daunting memories I have of that time is going into Walmart, because they only let 10 at a time in the store. Crazy. Wow. And seeing aisles of hand sanitizer and toilet paper gone, and aisles of canned goods full. And thought to myself, what are we doing?
Well, by the way, was that here? Here. Because I have to tell you, because I was in Florida for a lot of this, so Florida was different, but I didn't know they only let 10 people in. I can't even conceive of 10 people in a Walmart. That's crazy.
It was the craziest. It was, you can't. There's a time we're going to have to describe this, or our children, we're all describe this to folks that didn't live through this, and they're going to be like, what happened?
And you actually bought this.
And we bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. During COVID, we went to Florida, Disneyland.
That's right.
Yeah, and like,
it's like a ghost town.
Yeah,
there, right?
But inside Disney World, it was like you had to wear your mask. There was if you even took it down to, you only could take it down to drink or eat. But if you trying to take a little break, you would get in trouble. And
yeah, the other one they did that, they would try this, remember, in restaurants. So you had to walk in with the mask, but the second you sat down, then you could take it off. So the virus can get you when you're walking in, but if you're sitting, guys, and there was no rhyme, no reason, no medical science, no science, and no common sense to it, if they thought at all. And so I was out in Vegas during that, and I got tagged at a couple of restaurants, sir, you need to put look, I have a reservation, just bring them in on a table. And I refused. I'm not putting a mask on. Same thing happened at a grocery store. Going through the aisle, I can't check out unless you have a mask on. All right, so here's the situation. You ring these up, I pay you, or I'm taking them. I'm going to get the manager. Get the manager. He came. You ring me up, or I'm taking these out of the store. And here's the thing. If 15 million of us did that, this shit would have been over a lot faster. But like a guy like me got tagged as some crazy and like we knew we were right. We knew we were totally correct. And my thing was, especially with my colleagues, I'm like, you're Americans and your doctors, start acting like it. When in history have American doctors actually had an opportunity to stand in the gap when no one else could? And you know what? Right. You failed. You guys failed. All you docs out there who toed the line and listened to your organization and took a knee, shame on you. Because you should have stepped up for the patients, because we took the same oath. And maybe you don't think anything of the Hippocratic Oath. I do. Right. So I stood up for my patients, and I'm still standing in the gap, and shame on all of you.
I got to give you a hand on that.
Yeah, energy towards this COVID bullshit. What's done in the dark will go to the light. We all need more energy like his.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
What
Yes,
did
we do.
and so I'm reading Hill was getting you prepped.
Oh yeah, Hill's
She was
my
getting
wife.
some food.
Yeah, Hill's my wife. So she's says, "Tribe that I'm lucky. I'm an end of the world type prepper."
Hill's my wife.
So right.
We know whose house we going
So
to.
she's like, I'm more worried about canned food, rice, flour, and I'm still waiting on Tribe to buy me a ham radio. Yeah, she's all about the
Oh,
good.
y'all making me hungry, but y'all making me hungry, man.
But no,
Hey, a ham radio ain't food.
And now that I'm speaking of being hungry, there was a big topic I wanted to talk to with you today.
Something that can bring on hunger.
Something
Oh,
that can bring on
yeah.
hunger, but I think we should go to an intermission first because I do have to go to the bathroom, and then we can get to that.
Oh, well, you can go to the bathroom. We'll continue.
Can you run that up? Do you want to start it then?
What you want?
Oh no, let's wait till you're back because you want to be here for this.
All right.
Yeah. Talking about some green is my big.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I got it.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, we knew you.
We'll just continue talking COVID. Yeah.
This is the one. He's been waiting. Dr. Mike, he's been waiting on you.
No problem. No problem. We're going to cover it.
Yes. So my mind just went blank now.
I do. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so how did you connect with Craig?
So Craig and I met at the local at the restaurant down on Grand Avenue one night, and I was doing magic. I'm also a magician, so I was doing magic, and I think he and his wife were sitting at a table, and I had my cards out doing my thing, and he's a very gregarious guy, fun guy. He's fun guy, and also an amazing attorney. I mean,
yes,
Bill Billings knows about Craig Hensel Law because he's unbelievable, great lawyer, and a great human. He's just a great human being. And also legendary Super Bowl parties. Oh my goodness! If you guys haven't gone yet,
no, he hasn't invited us to it. So
he'll be inviting you. He'll be inviting you next year.
Craig, you in the chat.
Legendary.
I'm
telling you, legendary. Oh my goodness, man.
So, you used to be in a band, right?
Yes, I was in a band back in Illinois during college. So a punk rock band and then an alternative rock band called Sporadic Synchrony. I played bass and did some singing as well. And then during medical, I was a manager for my brother's bands. They had a couple bands in Chicago. So we were doing the whole Chicago music scene during my medical school years, which was really fun. So, I'd finish my day in medical school, throw on all leathers, full leathers, leather pants, leather, and just go out to the Avalon and places in Chicago where we would play, man. It was really Elbow Room. There was a lot of places in Chicago. It was really a lot of fun.
And they call Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, in the second city, right?
Yeah, they do.
And I heard the reason the second city is it burnt down and they rebuilt
it. The fire,
the
Chicago fire. Well,
right?
Chicago fire comes into it. Yeah, I was also bat boy for the Cubs back in 1985, which was which was really fun. I played baseball for 10 years, and that was a magic summer. I was talking about that today, and had a lot of fun. And I'll never forget as a 17-year-old kid walking in that locker room, and I'll tell you, I thought I was standing in a hole. I mean. Well, I played baseball, I'm a teenage kid.
Yeah.
And I was a water polo swimmer. So I'm a lanky, just a kid. And I walk into this and I'm like, the first guy I saw is Rick Sutcliffe. Okay. I don't remember the name. And Lee Smith.
Oh my God.
The closer. You remember Lee Smith. Lee Smith is 6'6". Rick Sutcliffe is 6'7". I'm like, hey guys, I feel like I'm standing in a hole here. I'm picturing little baseball players like these guys are massive. They're huge,
guys. Yeah.
Big and fast and agile. These are studs, man. I'm just like, whoa. I mean, these guys are something else, man. So, yeah, that was a whole nother thing. Wrigley Field's a magical place. If you haven't been, man, and you're ever in Chicago, get there. It's just an incredible place.
So I was just talking with a guy. So I'm out at CHS. That's what I do out there at the refinery out there. One of the guys I was talking to, Mr. John McDonald, I'm going to give him a shout out. He had went to Wrigley, and because his team is the Cubs. And he had went to Wrigley, and he was telling us these stories about how majestic Wrigley Field is. And he vouched that Wrigley is the best ballpark in the entire country, period. And he said there are some more newer ones. But if you want to get the cross-section of everything, nostalgia, history, the modernization of it, Wrigley is probably the best place to go to. He did say that he liked Coors Field too. He said Coors has a good park too.
Interesting. That's a great analysis of it. And I'll tell you this: when you walk in, because keep in mind, surrounding Wrigley Field I mean, it's very tough to find parking for one. Wrigley's, it's notorious for terrible parking. So a lot of people, take the L train down, buses and so forth. But what's amazing is like across where the outfield is, that's mostly apartment buildings and stuff like that. On the other side is mostly restaurants, bars, stuff like that. And then you step up into this place. And I'll never forget as a kid, the first time looking out as I walked up and looked out, from the first deck there, and you see the vines and a beautiful field. It is surreal. You literally get chills. It's an unbelievable. It's surreal, unbelievable experience. Yeah, because you got this beauty and there's just this urban sprawl, and then it's like boom, you're standing in Wrigley Field, and it's just shocking.
You kind of skimmed past something, but you used to make music.
Yes. Yes, he was in a band, couple bands.
I hear
bands?
pretty good music. Is that correct?
It was, it was all right. We perform. I mean, my thing was, the performing. I always loved performing, music. But my real passion when I started at 7 years old has always been magic. So that's been my real real love. And
Are you the kind of doctor, if I went in and came to see you, and first thing when I sat down, you're going to do a magic trick for me?
No, I don't do that. But if I'm prompted, I will.
So it'd be like, poof, there's a probe up here.
Yeah, right.
There's a probe up your ass.
Yeah, no glove.
Voila, your anus is
Dr. Mike was the lead singer in a punk band way back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, we did that and also played bass, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, those years were just amazing, man.
When Craig was telling me about your magician background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, anytime, and Craig vouches like, oh man, he's amazing magician, like legit, right? You clearly we want him to do a magic trick, a couple or whatever. Craig's like, I don't know how that translates or whatever. So the next time you come back, we got to set something up. We got to figure out something that would look good.
We will.
That you can do.
I mean, I'm always ready. We're always ready.
Oh, that's.
But we won't do it. We won't do it.
Are you sure?
Because you know what? It's better if you've got like the camera at the right angle and stuff.
We'll have more cameras.
I just don't think it's going to translate as well. I'm always ready.
And I want to be high as fuck when he does it. I want to be stoned.
I mean, be high or have a drink because you'll see a better show.
That's fact. That's how it works.
Patty Bonnet says, perform some magic.
See, Patty is
perform for us. Perform.
I'd like to see a magic trick. I mean,
who's this Patty? Who?
Patty,
what is it? Patty Bennett or Patty Bennett? Yeah.
Patty Bennett.
Okay.
Benet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be Bennett, Benet, depends on where they're from.
Sounds like a Floridian to me. Is that a
Patty, are you from Florida? Where are you from?
Give
us some background on where you're from.
But yeah, we have Dr. Michael Uphues with us today. If you guys have any questions for him.
Michael Uphues.
Yes, Michael Uphues. Drop him in the chats. Let's interact with him. We're gonna get into the most interesting topic, that we've been waiting for. We were with Montana Minute.
That's what we were.
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, right?
Yeah, we were. Oh, sunny Florida. She's from sunny
Florida.
We know her well. So she's the wisest woman I've met in Florida. She's an amazing lady, actually.
Yeah. So
appreciate you tuning in, Patty.
Yeah. We were with Montana Minute, talking about cannabis. Yes. Yeah.
We were.
And we mentioned we were gonna have you on, and they're like, we're jealous.
Yeah, they were definitely floored.
Yes. But yeah. Give us a background in your cannabis, realm of
no problem with doctrine. Yeah. So, my board certification is family medicine, and I have fellowships in functional and integrative medicine. And that's really where my focus is at this point. So, in 2004, the law was passed in Montana, making cannabis medicinally legal for residents of Montana. But I had my eye on this for a long time. Even in my medical school years, but this goes back, 1996, I was already through my training, and so forth. But 1996 was the first year that a cannabis law was passed, and that was, of course, in California.
Yes.
You remember this.
Mhm.
So I had my eye on this and started studying it, and then I became a member of the American Academy of Cannabinoid Medicine. A lot of people don't know about these organizations. Certainly, most of the docs I deal with, probably the majority, don't even know these organizations exist. But you can actually get a board certification in cannabinoid medicine. Now, it's not like going through, a surgical residency or a family practice residency. But, you go through modules and you have to take an exam and you have to show proficiency, knowing the endocannabinoid system, what a cannabinoid is, what a terpene is, the flavonoids, and so forth, and how they work on the endocannabinoid system in the human body. Now, the endocannabinoid system, interestingly enough, was really identified in 1992. It's relatively new. But for doctors now in Montana, and because when patients come to see me for medical cannabis cards, more than 9 times out of 10. There's a couple of reasons. One, the doctors will say, well, our organizations don't allow us. Okay, that's bullshit. So because my instant retort, whether you work for the VA, government, Billings Clinic, Intermont, it doesn't matter. Any doctor can write a cannabis card. But the second most common reason, which I think is even more common, is we don't know anything about it. Okay. Now, I can see in year 1 or 2 of a rollout of a law, but not to know anything about medical cannabis at this point, being a doctor, is completely irresponsible, and you just haven't been keeping up.
Well, it's irresponsible and it's bullshit. That's something you have to know about by this point.
Completely. And, if they want to go back to, what would even drive you to think about this, if you look at any other drug, and I mean any other drug, no one has ever died from a cannabis overdose, physiologic, in the entire history of mankind. I can't say that about Tylenol. There are over 500 Tylenol overdoses every year. There are about 30 peanut allergy deaths per year. So you're more likely to die, if you want to talk physiologic death, from peanuts than you are from cannabis. Now, I'm saying, is it innocuous at high doses? No, I'm not saying be stupid about it. What I'm saying is it's just simply it's not caused a physiologic death. And the reason it hasn't is this, and this is what people should know, especially if there's any doctors tuning in. So the reason it has not caused a physiologic death like the opiates, like we're seeing with this crazy fentanyl craze right now.
Which is a medicine too, right?
Which is a medicine as well. But the reason the opiates cause so many overdose deaths is that in the midbrain, where there is the respiratory centers, it's very rich in opioid receptors, meaning places that the opioids can attach. In that exact same region of the brain, there are no receptors for cannabinoids. So if it can't attach there, it can't kill you. That's why.
Do you have people come? So you have people coming to you. So you have people coming to you specifically looking for a medical card. That's something someone could come to you and say, "Hey, I think that this would help me."
Yeah, of course. So I always, we always require people to have, some of them, usually from a primary care doc, a chiropractor, or orthopedic surgeon. 90% of the people get it for chronic pain, which is totally viable. And that's the thing. The FDA and docs and pain clinics now, they want to do away with opioids, but they don't want to learn about cannabis or use that as an option. That's completely crazy.
So,
right.
Well, I saw a lot of people. I'm in the cannabis group, Montana, and they're talking about you and that you're a good guy. Your prices are like
reasonable
yeah.
Compared to anyone else. So,
right.
Why not try to market off that?
Because I'll tell you why. One. Look, my first years in practice, 20 years I spent on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation. You don't go to an Indian reservation to get rich. You go to Indian reservation to take care of people and be a real doctor. And I also did quite a bit of medical missionary work down in Haiti after the earthquake, Guatemala, Honduras. I was also in New Orleans after Katrina hit, and I worked in the lower Ninth Ward and St. Bernard Parish. Not worked, I volunteered. I mean, dime was on me, but with a group called Heart to Heart International. So I've done a lot of medical missionary work as well. So to me, that's why you should be doctoring, not for a major profit. So the other thing is our economy right now is so crappy. You're getting killed at the gas pump. You're getting killed at the grocery store. You get killed everywhere. Energy bills. Like, how about once in a while, especially when I'm in town, how about just cutting people a break and being a decent guy? Like, is that so bad? And people think like trying to read into it. It's like, no, I'm just trying to be a good guy. That's all. It's like that. It doesn't go any deeper. Like, don't read into it. It's just
you can't be a good guy without something on the back end.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm
People,
just being a good guy.
Shocked or whatever. I have a question I want to ask you, and this is something I think is very important for a country with a workforce the size of our workforce. Obviously, if you work for any corporation in America, normally you're not going to be able to partake in any kind of cannabis or any therapy or any therapeutic anything with this. What would be and obviously what they say is you're doing a job, machinery or whatever, it's going to lessen your ability to be able to do these certain things or whatever. What, from your perspective, what is the proper balance that where you can get folks that very well need help in some of these areas because they're doing these jobs, these really stringent jobs, hurting, they don't want to be on opiates. What would you suggest that our median is to be able to appease what the corporate structure and the nature of what they're trying to establish, but to help the patient out so they can get the care that they need? So now I think that you could develop a better worker and a more safe worker. How would you do that?
It's coming. So it's a great question, and it's coming. And by the way, it's already here, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So first of all, what's interesting is, these corporations will preclude people from working if they test positive for cannabis. However, if they're on 4 Percocet a day or oxycodone or hydrocodone, or they're on Xanax 3 times a day or Ativan, that's perfectly fine. Oh, but God forbid you'd have some cannabis in your system. They've got to be reasonable about this whole thing. I mean, that's just madness. That's crazy thinking. It's completely unreasonable. And again, it comes down to dosing. So do you want to do you want to eat a 300 milligram cookie and go in and operate heavy machinery? No, of course not. That's just called common sense. No, I would never suggest that. I think that's just stupidity to even suggest. You start with 5 or 10 milligrams in an adult, and you move it up as needed until you reach a threshold where, look, this is the threshold at which you're probably impaired until you develop a tolerance, as they do with opiates, which they continue to take when they're on the job.
And alcohol.
And alcohol, 100%. So I just don't see the big deal. I never did see the big deal here, especially, though, the fact that it's never killed anybody, which is more than I can say for any other drug. I keep going back to it. And it's like, you're a broken record. Like, well, it's relevant here.
100% relevant. And that's a question I know that people have. That doesn't really get addressed or answered, and I appreciate you answering the question, which is people that work in the workforce in the corporate world that have these real ailments and these things, and they want to partake in something that's not of the pharmaceutical
and
persuasion, and they don't want to lose their job either. So you're dealing with a person's livelihood, so you're making them pick. And they have to side with the livelihood. Very few people are going to be able to say, well, I believe in this and I'm going to stand stringent when you got 5 kids. You don't really have that choice. So I was just wondering from your perspective, and I knew that you were coming on, and I know this is something that I consistently hear in all walks of life of, I know, the 0.08-ish thing that we can get in the cannabis industry that you can get a company to say, well, as long as you're not here, you're still able to work.
Yeah, here's the difficulty with it. They base it. Keep in mind, they're always basing this on the amount of THC, correct? So
yes,
here's the problem, and you guys are, I'm sure you're well versed and more versed than most doctors in this. It doesn't come down to just THC, as we know, because if you got THC and you have 0 beta myrcene, even though that THC level is high, are you necessarily as impaired as you would be had the terpene profile been different and had gobs of beta myrcene? The answer is absolutely not. If you had a bunch of beta myrcene, you might not be able to operate things.
Right.
In the absence. So you got to, this is the problem with herbal medicine as opposed to the Rockefeller model, which started back in the 50s, where let's just take one drug, put it in a carrier base, and that's medicine now. Well, The old days, medicine was herbal medicine. And there's an art to that. That takes some dialing in experience and practitioners who know what the hell they're doing. And that's the journey that I continue on, because to me that's the most important. People are looking for the alternatives right now. I think what's most important here is this really pointing to something historic. And this goes back to the Tax Act of 1937, correct? And also Reefer Madness, which was put out by a church group, by the way, in 1936. So 1936, Reefer Madness, where you had people jumping out windows and they said suicide, murder, rape, all this stuff. Okay, so you can look that up. Reefer Madness was put out by a church group. There was fear mongering. The Tax Act of 1937 was a very major prongs that you need to look at with the Tax Act of 37. And this, because this is historic, and because you say, why won't companies just allow it? It goes way back. That's why we're talking. This is now. This fear mongering has just been so entrenched in our society and way of thinking that it's mass formation psychosis type thinking. So the Tax Act of 37 had more to do with hemp than it actually had to do with medical cannabis, but medical cannabis got caught in the crosshairs. Hemp, of course, can be used for so many things. In fact, in this country back in the 1780s, it was illegal not to grow hemp because, remember, they needed it for shipping and so forth and for our Navy. But then you fast forward, William Randolph Hearst, who owned the newspapers in this country, also had the largest holdings in the lumber industry, which he made his papers from. Okay. Hemp, about 1.4 acres of hemp, I think, is equivalent to about 4 acres of timber. You can make hemp paper much more cheaply than you can from timber. Okay. Well, it was infringing on, Hearst's interests, of course, in the lumber
intellectual property.
Well, in his lumber industry ties, and his intellectual property, and he wasn't going to let that go. So that was number one. And number two, you had Harry Anslinger, who was the head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, which is now the modern day DEA. This guy was horribly racist. Everybody knows about Anslinger. I would hope you know about Anslinger at this point. So this is the guy that said this marijuana makes white women want to sleep with black people, musicians, or any others. This is one of his little direct quotes. So where that actually comes, it's interesting historically, because where that comes.
I didn't know that, but I think
I
found my catnip.
Yeah.
Come on back.
Yeah.
I need to find one where it's big native.
Yeah, no,
I think it's the same thing though, because the peace pipe, big brother.
The peace pipe.
Yeah, no, the quote was like Negroes, entertainers, or any others. And here's where that comes from. So
that is the quote.
It is the quote. So the 1910 Mexican Revolution drove cannabis across the port of New Orleans. Okay, fine. So it was picked up by the jazz musicians in New Orleans. So this is where the Thais, Mainers, African American. I mean, this is where it all started.
This is the intersection of that, right?
Correct.
Right.
But this guy's claiming, like, your lily white women are going to get snapped up by these evil pot smoking black music. I mean, this whole thing was so goddamn crazy. Whoa. Well, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. And the fact that they bought it even back then, but the fact that now companies are, believe me, they're putting the cap on this and the kibosh on it still. From that mindset, it still goes back to that. Make no mistake about it. It started then, and it has continued to today. It's so entrenched in the culture. It's shocking.
You know what's crazy about that? It's crazy.
Oh, I can hear you.
My woman, she's a white woman, and her
tribes.
family, my wife is tribe's wife, but
They share a wife. Mike, if you didn't know, I don't know if Maddie knows it. Maybe she does, but these two share a wife. So, I mean, this is a family here.
She sells the weed. Her family owns Ideal Naturals, and so they
fantastic.
They sell the weed, and so that's crazy that you said that it was black people bringing the white people. I think she won me over originally with lots of marijuana.
Yeah, and the reason she's by my wife is because I'm trying to get my land back one white woman at a time.
Well, historically, that's been one of the bigger fears in the country since the inception of darker folks coming here, which is and it's just that dynamic because it's not the other way.
Right.
It's typically black men and white women.
Mhm.
There's a fear that, and I'm not saying now, I'm saying throughout the history of the country that has been, this is what we're trying to protect against. It was never white men and black women. It was always typically black men and white. Why? Like, is it?
Who knows? That's some racist shit. Can I ask you a real question?
No, but this is true.
But
this was. I'll tell you. The reason was though. This was Harry Anslinger's pet project, and so he knew if he could frame the emotions of the public, which he did. I mean, they were extremely successful with Reefer Madness and what Anslinger did. And by the way, back in the 20s, I mean, cannabis was one of the most widely prescribed drugs by American doctors. 3 million prescriptions a year.
And it should have been.
And it was also a patent medicine. So you could get it over the counter. And they used to compound it with things like laudanum, which was like tincture of opium and other products as well. Anxiety and different things, but it was an over-the-counter products. Look at Park Davis and so forth. They had all these products back then, so it was actually even over-the-counter. But docs prescribed it widely back then, and the AMA actually opposed the Tax Act of '37, and they pushed it through anyway because there was such a push behind it. No different than the COVID shots being pushed through the way they were.
If we have to go back, then everything was kind of racistly based laws. Same with moonshining was also because of the underground. What's it called? Underground. There were like clubs underground that you couldn't have.
All the juke joints and stuff like that.
Yeah, where it was like kind of hidden away, but that was because people were entertaining. Yeah, speakeasy is what I was thinking of. But no, I had a serious question that I wanted to ask you because a lot of my friends that are like me ask me this question. It's something I don't know the answer to. So I've never had a recreational card. But I tell people I have before because I was smoking weed before.
You mean a medical card?
Yeah, a medical card.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry.
So I smoke everything rec. So somebody with asthma, I have severe asthma. I take, I have to do breathing machine in the morning, breathing machine at night. I have 4 different inhalers I take every day.
Wow.
So someone comes to you with asthma and wants a medical card. Is that something that you would advise against because, smoking the lungs, coughing? Or is that something that you would kind of go over different options with them with? Or how do you go about someone that has ailments with their lungs?
I'm sure you use some of the traditional things that you're on. You're probably on albuterol and you're probably on a Advair or inhaled steroid.
You've
and all
hit
that.
everything so far.
All those. So the thing is, what people don't know is that cannabis is actually a bronchodilator. So it actually will open up the lungs, not close the lungs.
And that's how I felt is when I smoked.
You will open it up, and it's also a mucolytic, so you'll start to cough up and there'll be more mucus production and so forth. So that's another thing doctors don't know. The difference is, in this case, if you're going to inhale it and you have asthma, I would say use a vaporizer, not the smoke. And the reason is the smoke can just be so harsh. That's all. It can just be very harsh, cause more coughing than vaporizing does. But it's actually a bronchodilator. So it opens. It doesn't constrict the bronchial tube. So there's no reason not to use that, based on being asthmatic or not being asthmatic. No,
right. So somebody could come in with a lung ailment, and you're saying that it would help.
Physiologically, it opens up the lungs. Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, so I need to get a vaporizer because I smoke a lot of weed. But and another topic I wanted to get into. So do you know a lot about terpenes?
We know some things about terpenes, of course. Well, we just brought up the myrcene issue. You bring up limonene.
Limonene is my big one that I like to smoke.
Limonene, very uplifting. It's found in all citrus fruits, oranges and lemons and limes and so forth. So those are usually, they attribute them more in the sativa cultivars than they do in any others and so forth. Although there's been so much, so much in terms of hybrid strains right now, the lines are starting to become very blurry. So you can't just say anymore sativas are uplifting and indicas will couch lock you, because it really depends on the cross. It depends on the cross. Yeah. It does. The cultivars know. Then when I got in this industry back in 2004, I mean, it's totally changed. Right. If you can find lamb's bread, a Jamaican, a native Jamaican, it's pretty much pure sativa strain. Yes, I know Montana Advanced Caregivers they've had it forever. That was Bob Marley's favorite strain, but he attributed his creativity to using lamb's bread, which is a pure, and that was a wild type. So that was a land race Jamaican strain, pure sativa. So, man, if you can find pure lamb's bread, that's like pure gold if you want sativa.
That's what I was gonna get to a little bit after this, but I guess we'll get into it. So obviously different strains have different effects. When you, well, I guess my first question should be, do you partake?
So I don't have any reason right now, but I will tell you this. So as you know, I have a history of athletics and so forth.
Right.
But back in the starting in 2010 and then onward up until about 16, 17, I was doing about a dozen Spartan races a year. So I was in obstacle races. These were 15-milers apiece.
Right.
All over the United States. So I was training 4 times a day. So I was beating the living crap out of my body. I mean, this was no joke. I mean, you're talking SEAL fit, cross fit type training, as well as Insanity, P90X, long runs, yoga, all of it. And I wore out my right hip. So I wound up with a right hip replacement 2019. But during that time, I'm not going to take opiates. So I got a medical cannabis card at that time.
Right.
And I used that. And what I used was edibles, and it did me just fine. And then when I was done, I was done. I mean, I didn't need it. So, and I just didn't find it all that pleasant in terms of the psychogenic effect, because I was doing it more in terms of pain management, not
psychoactive,
not so much the psychogenic effect. So I didn't. It wouldn't be a daytime thing, but at night I would use an edible, and just to be able to fall asleep, and it worked great. I mean, I have to say it was fantastic.
Do you think people can use cannabis in a not use in a professional setting, but be professional while using cannabis?
There's no question about it. The thing is, as we were just talking, you know, when it comes down to the cultivar, because people try to call them strains. Really, that term is kind of passe. But the cultivar, same thing as a strain, as people would know it as. A lot of times, when I tell my patients, depending on the physiologic effect that you want to implement, I will have people actually combine strains. So that's the beauty of something like herbal medicine and medical cannabis. If you need 3 different strains to get the effect, maybe you have a seizure disorder, you have chronic pain, and you're someone who can't fall asleep, majorly depressed, you're going to treat that very differently. And the beauty of dialing that in is you can actually precision base the care based on the patient's conditions, which is really, if you think about it, that's what functional and integrative medicine all about. It's starting to come down to precision-based medicine based on people's genetics. I mean, we're getting down to the genetic level at this point where these are the genetics. Okay, then this is the best diet to follow. These are the best nutraceuticals to use. And if you get sick and we have to go the pharmaceutical route, these are the best pharmaceuticals. This is the way we're going already. And so the country and people are starting to demand these kind of therapeutics, which they should, because we can do better. This is the best country on the planet. We should be able to do better than we're doing right now. We got an upside down system. We do 2 things great in our current medical system: emergency and some critical care, although critical care, we're killing people during COVID. Okay. But emergency medicine and surgery, they do great. Okay. Everything else, like prevention, primary care, they suck. And they suck because they're using the Western Rockefellerian approach to medicine, which was really shoved down our throats from the 1950s onward and up until today. You got to push back. You got to get outside of it and go to functional integrative medicine conferences like the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, the Age Management Medical Group. Rely on your naturopaths, look into osteopaths, homeopaths, Chinese medicine practitioners. You got to use them all. Use them up. Pull from all these disciplines. There are a million ways to treat people. The Western approach is not making it.
No.
So we have Philip. Philip Hancock says, I know Dr. Mike for years. His knowledge is absolutely amazing. The best part of Mike is that he truly cares about his patients,
which is highly important. There's so much in the relationship between a doctor and a patient. It's a different relationship almost in any relationship you deal with in your life, and it involves keeping your life a lot of times, or at least maintaining quality of life a lot, which affects people living longer and all of these other things. When you're dealing with your patients, Mike, what are some of the things that you look for in a patient coming to you, and the relationship. What do you do to try to fester a relationship to make the relationship as strong as it can potentially be, so that you can provide the care for the people that they need?
Yeah, number one is no judgment at all. That's number one. And secondly, always come with empathy, compassion, and put yourself in that person's chair. That's what I always do, because you'll never fail. And my father, and people talk about my prices. My father, as not really well-to-do. He gave great advice before I went to medicine. Mike, one day you're going to make some money as a doc. When I never screw over the working man. My father said that, and I've never forgotten it. So, be compassionate, be empathetic, put yourself in that person's position, and don't screw them around. That's all. It's pretty, it's pretty simple. And you know what? You guys can kind of tell my style now. There's no facade. Just be a fucking real person. Don't
as hell.
Well, just be real.
We ought to sell that shirt.
Like, be real.
Just be
like,
a fucking real person.
Well, my thing is, it's like,
I think we could change a lot in society.
It's like, don't be. I'm the doc up here. You're down there. You shall do this. No. Doctoring, it's a partnership. Yeah. Here are your options. Do some due diligence. Do a little research on your own. Let me know what you think. Not you shall do this. I mean, that's bullshit.
You're not one of those doctors that, like, you come in like, oh, I have the money, I have the control, type of.
I won't. This is why I'm independent. This is why I'm independent. I mean, if I had to work for an organization, the organizations now, I'd last 5 seconds. I mean, I wouldn't make it. And I mean, I'd tell the CEO or manager to go fuck themselves. I mean, it just would. I mean, I tell you, because they're telling you how to practice medicine.
Well,
when to come in, when to leave, when you can take vacation, what your hours should be, how hard to work, how much patients. I'll take as much goddamn time as I need.
I call it bottom line medicine. And what I mean, it's all about the bottom line.
Yeah.
And depending on what we're trying to accomplish from a profit aspect, determines the kind of care that I'm going to give you, or what, better yet, or what I'm going to allow you to do to your patient. How many times have you heard a doctor or yourself, there's something that can help you, but can't do it, too expensive, can't do this, maybe we'll try this. How are you really giving people real care if I'm having to navigate that?
Right.
And you need help. There are things that can help you, but it's too much money. We can't go over there. So now we have to pick this other avenue to potentially help you or give you hopefully an equivalent result.
Right. So I'm involved right now. So I'm back contracting with the Fort Peck tribes up in Poplar, Montana. So we've got a really, really unique opportunity up there. So I was up there a long time. I know everybody up there, and they had an $11 million grant, and they built a huge 55,000 square foot wellness center. 7 exam rooms for doctors, dental, X-ray on site, physical therapy, chiropractic rooms, 3 pools, a gym, a basketball court, a couple commercial kitchens for teaching cooking classes. So I went in front of the tribal council. This is a very interesting thing. So I said this back in the 1990s when I first started there. I got into a medical staff meeting, and diabetes is rampant. People are getting amputations and kidney disease and eye disease and cardiovascular. I mean, it was awful, and it still is. And the thing is, all the insulin you could throw at it, all the therapeutics and drugs, it wasn't cutting it. So I get in the med staff meeting, and I said, well, why don't we start by going back to the native diet? And all of a sudden, like, some people started laughing, squirming, and I'm like, what? Like, think about that. So now they've got a bison ranch. Think about this now, guys. So if you got a bison ranch and everybody's gets bison, they're allowed to hunt up there year round, wild game, roots, berries, the traditional foods they ate. Just try to get diabetes. Try. You won't be able to. It's impossible to get diabetes on lean meat, roots, and berries. I'm just sorry. You're not going to get diabetes.
Yeah, because our body ain't set for like the breads and all of that.
Correct.
That's also like with the Polynesian too.
Correct.
The settlers bringing all of this over, and
100%.
That's why you notice a lot of like Samoans and Islanders. They're big people because all the settlers bringing all this
and affecting their diet,
right? Our diet, because our bodies can't break down all of that.
But if you think about it, it's just common sense, because and some people think, Well, Mike, that seems radical. No, what's radical is you walk into a Native American population and you say, oh, yeah, you have been subsisting on this for thousands of years. Here, have some buttercream, have some flour, have some potato chips and McDonald's. And you expect their metabolism to handle this? This is madness. Go back to the old ways and just see if that doesn't work. Again, it doesn't work out for you. There's so much common sense has been lost. It's like shocking.
Yeah, that's why a lot of Native Americans don't do dairy. Because,
right. You can't.
Yeah, we can't. Our body
toast. So out too?
No, I have all 10 toes.
Man, shut the fuck up. Can I did have another question. It was something you touched on was Western medicine. You know, they're prescribing all this stuff, and it's stuff you can get addicted to. And so maybe you will argue this point with me, but I always tell people like you can't get addicted to weed. So I guess I'll just ask you, and you can inform me and inform our viewers. Can you get addicted to weed?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, you know, from a physiological standpoint, not really. Psychologically is a different story, but it has to do with things like this. Like, so I use cannabis, and my pain is improved. Well, that would get me addicted too. Like, I feel better when I use cannabis. So from that standpoint, but in terms of like an opioid thing, because think about this: if you were to stop cannabis right now, would you start climbing the walls, shitting all over, puking, snotting like you? No, you won't. So from that standpoint, no, absolutely not.
But it's just like eating. Eating's addicting. You know, smoking. Everything's addictive. It be your brain. You know, you have to have it.
And that's more like personality, right?
Yeah, there's people that
personality. Anything can be addictive.
But it's just like medicine. People, you know, they need it to function because of the pain. So basically, that's kind of what weed is. Our cannabis is it helps you function, get that pain away.
It all comes down to function. I mean, in the end, that's the end goal. It's not just, you know, get high. It's have a more functional and creative and better life. That's all. In the end.
Well, we're at 3:30. Can we? We're speaking of being creative. Can we get in some music? Tribe runs our music and stuff today.
And since Mike has been in a band, I feel we're going to get a very unique opinion about some of the music from a musician standpoint on some of the stuff. So we have a segment we do called Yay or Nay. We like to have artists of all genres, if we can, submit music, and then we judge it, but we allow the people that are watching the feed to judge it and to say, hey, it stay or hey, it doesn't. So we don't really have control.
Interesting.
If it doesn't, we let the community control it. So it's just something to allow people to get their product out, but you know, you can get some favorable criticism of what you're doing.
Interesting. So these are all musicians, right? Yes. Current musicians.
Yes. Today it's actually just me, one other artist. We're on a song together, and then a song that we all are yay to. Amazing. I want to get your thoughts on it because that song comes out today.
Awesome. So this one is
"Fuck With Me"
by Lockett and
Young Sunny.
I'm
Prince Lockett, by the way. Well, I guess we said that already, but yeah.
All right. So it's played on Xbox.
Flow on the show.
Sit on about my books, on about my billies, boy. And I'm standing on my shit, I run this city, boy. All these bitches want my dick, but you ain't feel me, boy. Y'all been talking shit, but I ain't get annoyed. So out my face if you ain't fuck with me. I got my boys that by my side, you know they run with me. And your shawty, she in love with me. You the lucky type, but I ain't bring my gun with me. Stepping in this bitch and I ain't even got my fit on. Told your bitch she gon' suck my dick or she could get on. She the type to hit my phone again so she could get off. I ain't even been the type to lie, I'm getting pissed off. Hey, she wanna suck me up, she suck me dry. I been rolling up my way, little bitch, I'm getting high. She be loving how I hit it, say I do it nice. Then she biting on my chain, say I'm cold as ice.
556 my ARPs, NFL my nines, baby. Says you wanna call me up, I swear I'm doing fine. I smoke hella weed, yeah. I do this all the time. If I need to take another drink, don't cross my mind, I'm trapping. Hit the fucking mic and get the snapping. Everybody love my voice, they know I get to rapping. Yeah, hit the mic and swear to God I'm doing magic. Yeah, she hit my bed sheets, then I watch her do some backflips. Let me tell you something, niggas trying to top it, they ain't stand on none. Nigga trying to watch my fucking pockets like I ain't got none. I got hella guala, stack it up into the fucking sun. Baby said she wanna see me drop, but I ain't fall for none. Who the fuck you thought this was? Niggas know that it's the prince and I only rock with bloods. You whack it up and niggas running when I cock my gun. Whack him up and fuck him up, I smoking me another blunt. I need some green, I'm only.
All right, yeah, that was "Fuck With Me" by Prince Lockett and Young Sunny.
Yo,
yeah, that's
You
a
write
yay.
this one?
That's a yay for me.
you got a yay on that
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Oh fuck yeah! No auto tune? Was that what it just
Yeah,
won you over?
Yeah, the no
Instantly.
Yes,
That helped.
I normally
like,
sing.
I like the raw of it, in just straight, vocal, like crisp vocals rather than, robotic auto tune.
I had to show you I could edit something crispy, man.
So that's a yay for me.
Yeah, and I like the lyrics.
You do like the lyric.
Yep.
Thank you. And it's normally brought up on the show, is it authentic and all that. Tribe will vouch for me and Sonny, at least. We are definitely about that, about the bullshit, the recklessness, and doing all that crazy shit. But some of the artists that, if you watch the show after this and in the future, some artists are not about that, and they say the exact same things that we're talking about.
We have our Cannaman in the chats. He has Montana Minute.
Yep.
So he says his coworker says yay. He says yay. But yeah,
is it a yay for you too, Mike?
Mhm.
I give it a yay. So you got you got through finally.
I got with the 3 A's
And
finally,
so-
and it was a rap one. That's crazy.
And so you know that we're honest and sincere with this. Prince works with us, right? We're a team. This is his first yay. He's had other songs to come up. So
I did get another yay, but it wasn't unanimous.
Yeah.
So Sebastian said yay. Hill said yay. So it's a yay.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
I'm old school, so I like all that, the straight lyrical music rather than this new hip hop where they, over auto tune their music and sound like Daft Punk.
Right.
Shit.
He looks at it like the steroid era in baseball, which I did like the steroid era in baseball.
Me too. Loved it.
But this new era of
Anybody can do it.
mechanically enhanced music with people that may or may not be able to sing. Tribe is more of a purist in this, that your talent should be what your talent is, not the engineer that you
Right.
work with.
Right.
They should call that genre.
Accurate.
They should get a band in that genre called Canseco and McGuire.
Seiko McGuire.
But yeah, this genre is where they all get participant ribbons type of.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
Everybody can make music, that kind of shit.
Yes.
But I want to get into our first. This is kind of, it's my promotion. I'm promoting, but it's our show promoting this. We got LOB Black with Full of Gas. It should be up a little bit on the list. This is us promoting an artist. He's going to be on the show next week, next Saturday. Am I right? Is that the week Black's on?
I think so.
We got Black next week. So this is Full of Gas. This song comes out today. And yeah, we're promoting this motherfucker.
So yeah, let's get the yay or nay on this one again.
Yep. Oh yeah, we got new people in the chat. So yay or nay on Full of Gas. LOB Black, look them up.
Over blood, nigga.
And
Families change, friends change. Loyalty don't, you hear me? Let's go. Yeah. Bitch. I've been like this since about like 97, nigga. Yeah. I get full of gas when I enter the party. She say she wanna come fuck with a G. Putting my all up in the a guest. Love when she scream, I love when she speak. Bae, I'm a dog when I get in that pussy. But she know one thing I came for free. Hit the block and go get a pack, cause I'm trying to go break it down. That shit ain't cheap. Bad little bitch, she all up on me. She say that she fucking with Black for the night. I want you and all your friends. Let's go catch a flight. We gon' get it right. Been up for a minute, but shit, I ain't tripping. I'm trying to go trap and get my money right. My mama been hurting. I'm trying to get her out the trenches. We trying to live a better life. Get full of gas when I enter the party. She say she wanna come.
He's from I'm not gonna get this wrong. Louisiana, the boot, right? That's the boot. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes,
He's from Louisiana.
So that one's Full of Gas by LOB Black. Yeah, that again, that's a yay for me because I like the sample, the smooth operator. You know, when local artists try to use samples and stuff, they
get ruined normally. That's what we ran into it. Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a yay for me.
If you're the adage is if you're remaking a hit, you better end up with a hit, right? That's kind of the template you should use when you're remaking music. If that's a hit already, you better come out with a hit too, because it's already been proven that it works.
So we know that was a yay from all of us. What are you thinking, Dr. Mike?
Yay.
Definite yay.
Yeah.
What did you think of the lyrics and stuff? What was the story he was telling you? What that make you feel?
Based on the beginning, it was interesting how we dovetailed the smooth operator together with that. I really like it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. The flow was smooth. So yeah.
It was gas. I mean, he's it's clearly a biography type of song. Saying where he comes from, the struggles, trying to get his mom out. There's a lot of stuff in there that is telling you a story of what he comes from and what and his aspirations of what he's trying to do for his family to make his family better. So I give him kudos to that. I thought it was a definite yay.
Hell yeah. And so Tribe and I, we got the music on this show. I say pushing him hard. I'm pushing Black as hard as I can. And I know Tribe is backing me on that one just because that's one of my only artists that doesn't auto-tune every fucking song.
Yeah, so
he'll be on next week, you guys, and you can listen to him. But I want to get back into some more cannabis, some more doctor talk, some more whatever we want to talk with Dr. Mike Uphues, and we'll talk to Black next week.
So this is Mr. Michael Uphues, Dr. Michael Uphues again, chat. If you guys want to ask him some questions, if you guys have a question for a doctor, drop them in the chats. Let's blow it.
I got it. Do you ever have any hypochondriacs come to you and with some phantom stuff? Because I am in the doctor books as a hypochondriac, so I was wondering, do you ever have anybody come to you with like crazy stuff going on that you can't really tell?
Well, there's always that, but I'll tell you, very few, and then most people, you can substantiate that, and usually they come to me. They're not coming to me as the first doc. They're coming to me as like a last resort a lot of times because no other doc will do a recommendation. So they've already seen 5 docs by the time they get to me. So there's a lot of the work has already been done for me, quite honestly, when they come in, which makes it pretty easy.
Man, I went in one time and I was telling the doctor, I swore I had worms in my nose and some crazy shit. And it was this is like when we found out that I just kind of make stuff up in my mind about what's going on in my body if I hear something. I'd been watching a movie where people were infested by worms, and I ended up thinking that I had it, and they would spent months trying to figure out what was wrong with me, why I was thinking that. Turns out I was just pulling boogers out, thinking that it was worms. You ever had anybody come to you with some crazy shit like that?
Yeah, so you'll hear about a condition called Morgellons syndrome, where people actually have these little threads that will come out of their skin and so forth. And actually, you can take a tweeze and pull them. It's an interesting disease and population to deal with. I've only had a few patients with that, but that's the closest thing. But we've had people when I was down in Haiti after the earthquake, everybody had parasites because keep in mind they were all living in 50,000 person tent cities with no sanitation. It was something else. So, and that's the thing with the ivermectin scare up here. Everybody was on ivermectin down there. Kids, moms, the people of Haiti were just beautiful people for one, but they were just so friendly, accommodating, just and so gracious. So much gratitude down there. Wonderful people. My experience down there was great. What's going on there right now is really unfortunate because that was not my experience. This was 2010, so that wasn't my experience. My experience down there was super positive. They were great people.
Okay, I have a couple questions, but we have a question in the chat. It says thoughts on concentrate over flour.
Yeah, I don't. Again, if concentrate is needed, the severity of the condition, I don't have any issue with it at all.
Guys, he's not out here saying to smoke and get as high as possible. So that's
yeah. I mean, so if it's gonna make you more functional, fine. Like if you're talking from a recreational standpoint, my view is I don't care what you do. Not that I'm not a caring person. What I'm saying is you're choosing to do anything recreationally. That's up to you, man. I can't control it. I'm not trying to control you, but
maybe he's asking, is it cleaner? I wonder if that's what he's asking.
Cleaner?
If it's cleaner.
If it's cleaner. That's an interesting question. It really depends on extraction, right? Because you've got butane, you've got ethanol, you've got CO2. CO2 is super clean. So yeah, I mean, super clean extraction techniques. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of butane because I wouldn't give butane into my patients. So I know it's the least expensive, and I get it. Believe me, from a business standpoint, I understand it. I don't recommend it to my patient. I just don't. So if you got ethanol or CO2 extraction, I think it's much cleaner ways, CO2 especially, but it's expensive as hell for the equipment initially.
So, question about medical cards. So I always wanted to get a medical card, but I like my Second Amendment rights. I like buying guns and all that. So
I heard that was a myth.
Yeah, so it's interesting you bring it up. So the year I had my cannabis card, before I had my hip surgery, I bought 3 guns. I bought a shotgun, I bought a rifle, and I bought a pistol. So that's a myth.
That's a myth.
It's a myth.
Okay.
Yeah, people they come to me with that, and they're always, I want to keep my guns. No one's going to take it from you. And I haven't had one person come in and say they were denied a gun or concealed carry permit because they had a cannabis card ever.
So never. I guess,
and also in any state, and I've done this in other states as well. Not any state has done this.
So on that question again, a lot of people didn't want to get a card because they thought you couldn't own guns. Do you go on a registry when you get a card?
The only registry you go on is a state registry, and to my the government is. We've seen what's going on in the last several years. Apparently, that's not shared, but. To my knowledge, though, it certainly is not in terms of obtaining a firearm. No.
All right, yeah, because I was looking into getting a card. I know it's recreational, but I just because of couple months ago I tore my meniscus and it still hurts to this day, and I'm just like and I had many surgeries, many medical. I have a huge medical history, so it's almost like a Bible. That's how big my medical records are.
Right. And I'm totally out on most of this conversation. I work for CHS, so I'm taking.
You have smoked though.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Back in the old days.
Really old days. But because of the corporation that I work for, that's not something that you could even partake.
Is that even an option? Yeah.
Well, it's not an option.
Right.
Like I was speaking with Prince about this. The thing is, if you have a job that pays you 6 figures a year, and if you're going to do that, that's not a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and a lot of people would quit for that.
But there's a segment of the population that has to make that choice because of that. And that's why my question to you was, these people that are the choices made for them, is there a median area that the corporation and the person or patient can come to be able to?
Yeah, so exceptions have been made. If I have written a note, for instance, that either someone is allergic to opioids and other analgesics, and this is the only medication that's going to allow the patient to be functional and do their work, and be a productive parent and so forth, then there have been exceptions made, and it's gone through. The cards have gone through, and they've gotten on with their jobs.
And
that's not a rule. That's definitely an exception.
Right?
But what's that?
And now a business can't shut that down anymore, right? If you have those exceptions.
If you've got the exception, they can't. Yeah, and that's that. But it has been the exception rather than the rule, as you're pointing out.
And that's the thing, though, too, because my understanding with that is the business can shut it down if it is per their policy. So if it's their policy, corporate wise,
correct,
that won't oversee it.
No, it's got it's done on policy. This is done on a very individual basis. That's why I said this is a handful of people we're talking about. But it has. I mean, exceptions have been made, but they're rare.
Yes. Okay. On reservation, you worked on reservations. Why is it they give like every? It's a joke in the native community where ibuprofen and naproxen, like, you go in to get something. Oh, take some ibuprofen. Take some naproxen.
Right. Yeah. When I first got to the reservation, a lot of people were on opiates, and then, back in the 90s, so pain became the quote, especially in emergency departments. Anyone who's in management medicine will remember this. It became the fifth vital sign, pain. So give us your pain on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the highest. And so you would always ask that person the second they hit the ER, are you in any pain? And then, of course, you would offer them. This is when, OxyContin was released, by the pharmaceutical industry, by the Sattler family. Of course, they came out to all the offices. I'll never forget when it was launched because they talked about how it's not addictive, and so it was the most addictive damn thing. Look what happened in Appalachia. My God, it just ravaged it. So then they started to curtail. So that's why the ibuprofen, naproxen, and no other option was given. However, now, I mean, even up in Wolf Point, Poplar, now they've got, I don't know how many dispensaries there were. There were only 3 up until recently, and now I think the last time somebody told me there were 7. I'm thinking, you got more dispensaries and bars on the reservation than anything else. You got one grocery store. It's kind of crazy,
right?
Yeah.
So, okay, what's your view on on Suboxone? Like, I know it's hitting all the reservations, and it's supposed to help them get off of the.
Yeah, it's a partial opioid agonist. I prescribe it myself. I got my X waiver back in 2016 because the problem is so pervasive. But I have just a handful of patients that are on Suboxone. However, as opposed to naltrexone or methadone, Suboxone is about 60% effective. We're talking 60% of the people will not relapse if they've been on Suboxone, and can stay on Suboxone safely without any euphoria. You don't get euphoric effects typically from Suboxone like you do methadone. You can, and you take enough of it, you'll get euphoric effects.
So don't you just get addicted to that as well, though? It's like trading one addiction for another.
So the situation is, a lot of folks will typically be on that, but it's not really when you say a trait of addiction. First of all, they're not using a needle. They're not taking gobs of it all the time. You're on a set dose. You try to wean people off it if I can, and I have. But a lot of people, what's interesting, they get so addicted is that even getting down to like 2 milligrams, maybe even less, you can't nudge them off that. And so their life is just better they can still be productive, they can still hold a job and so forth, and be on Suboxone and not relapse. And that's the most important thing, again, being functional.
So back where I'm from Browning, and it's huge there, and a lot of abuse of it.
Right.
People are selling it and all of that. So they went from the pill form to the strip form because trying to help.
So here's a difference between Suboxone and Subutex. So Suboxone has buprenorphine and naloxone, which is an opioid antagonist. So that's in the strips that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So the reason they did that was because if you take that orally, okay, the naloxone will not cause withdrawal. However, if you crush that up and shoot it, then it will. So you'll have an instant opioid withdrawal, which is anyone knows has been an opioid
so
withdrawal.
People are crushing the pills and shooting them.
So here's the thing. Here's the problem. So the pills, though, don't have naloxone. They've got buprenorphine, which that's its own set of problems. So you got to be very discerning on who you prescribe just Subutex to, because it doesn't have the naloxone, meaning they crush that up and shoot it. Then they may get some euphoria, and especially higher doses. And you don't want to go down that road. So this is why they came up with Suboxone and not just Subutex, buprenorphine plus naloxone.
Okay,
That's the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Hill says, do you think addiction is a disease or a choice?
Or both?
That's a great question. I think it's a disease for sure. Yeah.
And she says, I am on a low dose of methadone. I'm an open book. It has helped me live a healthy, normal life.
Yeah, I mean, no one, believe me, I mean, no one starts choosing to be pumping their arms full of opioids. I mean, that's the choice of placing the needle, yes, but I mean, you get to a point where if you don't, the negative part of the withdrawal far exceeds anything you can withstand mentally. It doesn't come down to will after that. I mean,
and I don't think that's
physiological.
The way that question is normally presented, it's not a fair question. And I'm not saying Hill shouldn't ask it, but I think that we can have a real substance-based conversation with this, which is you make a choice to do the drug
initially.
You don't ever make a choice to be an addict.
Correct.
Nobody ever does. So
you make a choice to initially use, but after
I think that what people tend to do is they try to merge the two things into one thing, right? Nobody chooses to be an addict. Now you can make the choice that will lead to you being an addict down the road with extended use. That's not the same thing. So I don't think it's fair when that's asked as one question a lot of time. And I think the way that Hill presented it is the way that it's always presented.
Right.
And it's not fair. It's not a fair assessment.
Once you're in over your head, it's a disease. But prior to all that, not necessarily. Yeah, it's interesting.
So I want to fall back on you were in Katrina. Like, what was your view on all of that? My mom was down there during Katrina, Biloxi, and all that. At the federal building, guarding the federal building, and she was like, it just smelled like dead bodies down here.
Right.
They're just putting people in semi trucks.
Right. Yeah. It didn't look like the United States. St. Bernard Parish in Lower Ninth Ward. It was African American community. These people had been, there was no food. Water was not necessarily the cleanest, and they had been out of medications for a long time. I had never seen blood pressures like that, and I kid you not. I mean, I've been working in lots of different places, but guys coming in with pressures of no doubt 280 over like 210, diastolics over.
That's insane.
Well, I mean, I'm like, look, we don't get these medications. You're going to blow the top of your head off. I mean, it's unbelievable. The pressures we saw down there. And then, bad abscesses and skin lesions and all kinds of different parasites. Again, we saw that down there as well during that. That was a very ugly time, but we got, that got whipped back into shape pretty quick. Harry Connick Jr., remember, he contributed a lot to that. He's from that community, so he contributed. I got some of them, but I think some of those places, neighborhoods I saw down there are probably still in the same state because people they just left. People went to Texas and different places after that, and they never returned.
Yeah, and they didn't rebuild, right?
No, I don't think in a lot of those places they did.
And to be honest, they probably shouldn't have. If the construction of that city, I understand the importance of New Orleans and that. I understand the importance of it when I say it, but structurally, from an architect level, you shouldn't ever build something there like that. They probably didn't have the expertise to understand that we do now to look back and say, yeah, it's probably not the best place to build a major city in your country or whatever. So there are, building under sea level is probably going to be a problem every single time. So, and the nature of how cities move throughout time, that's probably where the city started. Normally, the more affluent people move out, poor people move into those areas that were already constructed. That's pretty much what happened. You have a bad hurricane, flooding, can't get out. A lot of people die. It's the nature of kind of how that is. So, I know that President Bush and a lot of people got a lot of flack from it. He didn't build the city down there either, and he didn't make the hurricane happen. So you're only at mercy of of what you're able to do in that sense, and you give me 10 presidents, they probably all operate. Trina is just one of those things. I don't necessarily know if we learned our lesson long term. It could happen again tomorrow, type of thing. If it did, it would be just as bad. I know that they've tried to build up these levees and these walls, and I don't know how much that would help, in a Category 5 or 6 hurricane or something.
Well, we see this every year in Florida. So I had a place in Naples, and then a couple of hurricanes had hit, and I sold it kind of on a second floor. But people try to ride these things out. They think, I'm in shape, so I'm going to ride out a hurricane. Well, when you wind up, it's not, that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing. So when you wind up with a yield sign in your spleen, it really doesn't matter how many push-ups you did that morning,
Let's see how long you can hold your breath in the bathtub. We're all pretty much in the same spectrum with this.
You got it.
So about 45 seconds, it's going to get hot for you. So it's funny how people say, I'm in shape, and you can't hold.
Yeah, it's not about that.
You're limited on what you can do, unless you're a fish. I don't know. So this episode is, I'd say this is probably one of our best episodes, if not our best episode.
One of the best.
It's definitely one of the best. The Craig episode,
informative.
It was. You and Craig you guys came in here like two heavyweights. So.
And it was one of the. To be honest, a doctor and a lawyer were one of the two I was like skeptical of.
And it's like one of the
super interesting.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
So we got to ask Dr. Mike, man. Doctor, you got to come on as a sponsor of the show. This is perfect.
Oh, we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
We're going to do it?
Of course.
He was behind the mic over here
Happy
asking
to.
me. He was asking me behind the mic about it, and that's why I was trying to live to you.
So, where can people find you? Where's your office?
Yeah, so office is at 724 Grand, but the best way to get a hold, just my office number, 40, and you guys can put, I don't know if you got a check and put it up, but it's 406-696-0409. I've had that number forever.
Let me repeat that, 406-696-0409.
Yes, that's our, and then 724 Grand, but we do virtual visits. So we do telemedicine. So it doesn't matter if I'm in town, out of town, we do them anyway. So you can always get a hold of us.
So why don't you try getting in Craig's spot, the Suite 420? That.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right. 420 isn't 420.
Yes.
Do you want your number pinned, your address pinned, or your name?
Hey, you have one. You have one
pinned.
too many numbers on his phone number, buddy.
406-696-0409.
That's right. 406-696-0409.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Yep.
My eyes playing tricks on me.
Yeah.
But
It happens.
yeah. Again, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me out, guys.
Oh,
two other things too. Yeah, we started talking high school. We didn't get to even med school, so
yeah,
we spiraled off in 50 directions. It was fun.
Mike, can we go steady? No P Diddy. No P Diddy, guys.
It's no Diddy at the. It's no Diddy.
No Diddy.
No Diddy.
So yeah, if you guys want to, get your medical card or even just have any questions.
Well, and as you've seen, that's the tip of the iceberg. With my practice, we're talking, board certification is family medicine, and my passion is integrated functional.
So someone can get you as a primary then?
They can, yeah.
Well, that's what we're looking for as a family. So,
all right.
So this is your new primary.
Finish your plug. You were plugging. I interrupted there. I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't plugging on. I'm just saying that the skill set after this many years, guys, unless a lot of docs are content staying doing the same thing. I never was. So, again, integrative functional medicine fellowship trained, and then got my clinical hypnotherapy certification. I've done over 600 hours of clinical hypnotherapy. Certified personal trainer. I did that training in Boise, Idaho. So this is why we're looking at a wellness model, not a sickness model like the Western, medicine is based on right now.
So yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hill said we need a primary too, so we're gonna be.
Yeah, you guys get a hold of me. Yeah.
Mike, do you work with people that are trying to stop smoking too?
Of course.
You do.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Yep.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, and she said, like I said, we have been discharged from so many pediatricians. So
Wow.
Because of the vaccine thing,
the
correct?
vaccine and all of that. So yeah, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, we wrote. I can tell you during COVID, the number of exemptions we wrote, especially there was a whole group of people who worked for NASA of all places, but there were so many contractors over there, and they were basically told you either get the shot by this date or you're out. So that was another weird, time during the pandemic. All of a sudden, I got hundreds of calls from the space side of Florida, and people wanting the exemption. So I was writing exemptions like left and right so that people could keep their jobs, and all of them went through. Either we had to go the medical route or religious. Most people had both exemptions, and ultimately, they were victorious and didn't have to get the shot.
Nice. Couldn't we give him a round of applause? So
We gotta give him a
this
round.
is
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Saving lives.
Thanks for having me out.
yes.
Thanks
So,
for coming.
yeah, thanks for coming on. And we appreciate everything you have said, and
Do you want to do shout outs?
Yeah, let's let Mike go first. Customarily, what we like to do is we give shouts out to the people that are important to us, causes that we're trying to magnify. If there's anything that you want to do with that, it is
Just one guy. Just shout out to Craig Hensel for getting me in with you guys. That's all.
No,
Thank you.
yeah, big shout out to Craig Hensel. We appreciate him for bringing you up.
Official show
He's our sponsor, yeah.
So we appreciate Craig, and then Prince, do your thing.
All right, big shouts out to Craig Hensel, Hensel and Law for they're the sponsor. He's the sponsor of this show. Big shout out to Bullwhackers Bar and Lounge and Casino. They got the vape shop over here if you guys need to get vapes. Obviously, I'm rocking on one of them. And shouts out to my woman at home for holding it down and watching 4 kids while I'm here.
And Tribe.
And Tribe's woman. That's basically all my shouts outs. I want to shout out you two guys because I do feel like I'm starting to talk a little bit more, and it's only because of you guys.
He definitely is,
Yes,
right?
yes, he
He's
has.
coming along. You're growing up, son. It's great.
I know, making me proud. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
Last night, I kind of threw him to the wolves. I tried to make him.
Yeah,
talk
you
more.
were letting me talk.
He was there. He was in it. I was
He
proud of him.
freestyled on the mic, so yeah.
Hell yeah. So those were
Kudos
my
to
shout outs,
you.
and I appreciate you guys.
The first thing I want to do is I want to remind everybody that we are having the Hunks show
Oh, I forgot.
this week, or actually next week on the 11th.
And we will be there.
We will be doing a small maybe podcast there that night.
Thank
we'll
you,
talk
Hill.
about that. We're doing the Hunks live here at Bullwhackers next Thursday, which is I think it's April 11th.
Interviewing the dancers.
Interviewing the dancer. Tickets are $25 at the door.
There's a deal, right?
And what it is it's actually buy one get 2 admissions. So for every ticket, you basically get 2 people in. But
it's basically a buy one get one.
But this is a distinction, and I don't really know what the distinction is, but through their management, we have to say this so people aren't asking for this.
Yep.
Don't ask for 2 tickets. You're actually not getting 2 tickets. You're getting 1 ticket that is value at 2 people. So 1 ticket actually gets 2 people in, guys. So you're not going to get 2 tickets. You're going to get 1 ticket, and then you can pick somebody to come with you. So doors to that will open at 7, I think.
Yes.
The show starts at 8. It'll go from 8 to 10. After that, you'll be able to talk.
What time will we be here? Because I'm sure we can have a couple people if they come. They can come talk.
We'll probably be here around, I don't know, maybe 5:30 or so, because we'll be doing that. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay, we'll make an announcement.
We'll be doing some interviews with some of the dancers and some of the people that are involved with the show. So you guys be sure that you come out and you support that. Husbands, you guys check that time of when your wives come home, because if it's too late, it's not good. So make sure she's at home at a reasonable time after 10 o'clock.
Big facts.
So the Hunks Live, April 11th, here at Bullwhackers Casino and Lounge. Tickets are $25. Remember, 1 ticket is a credit for 2 admissions, not 2 tickets. And you guys just come on out and support it and support the establishment. Spend a little money at the bar and have a great time. I'd like to give a shout out to my 4 wonderful and beautiful children. I love them more than anything on this planet. For without you, I am not me. And I want to give a shout out to Bullwhackers, Vape Smoke, and all prerequisite establishments connected to this particular establishment. And I want to give a shout out to all the people on the panel, Tribe, Prince, definitely you, Dr. Mike. We really appreciate you giving us a chance and coming and doing this. I thought it was a great episode. I hope you feel the same way about it. And most importantly, we want to give a shout out to the community that we are building. This is a show that we started on January 20th. We didn't really know exactly how it was going to take off. We thought it would catch eventually, but it has caught pretty good. So worldwide, locally, we want to give a big shout out to you guys. We will be here obviously every Saturday 2 to 4 with the Justice League. And Tribe, you can close us out, my friend.
All right, shout out to Mike. Shout out to Craig for introducing us to Mike. Allowing
Hensel Law, our official sponsor.
It sounds like we're gonna have another one.
Shout out to you guys. Shout out to our followers, our support. This ain't our show; it's our show. So, this show can't happen without you guys and Bullwhackers Lounge. Jason
Pearson. We got to give him a
amazing,
and
dude.
Jackie.
Jason and Jackie. Jackie's amazing.
She's a.
I came in, walked in to get my water.
She had your water ready.
She was like, "I already brought your water to you," and so I appreciate that, Jackie. The staff here is amazing. So come down, support Bullwhackers.
Can I add on to that one?
Hold on, Bullwhackers Lounge. They have 9 pool tables. Casino, they have 5-6 U1 games, and then the new smoke and vape. They have all your smoke and vape needs.
Yep.
And Jason, he is in the chat, guys. If you guys scroll through there, if you guys are looking up to set up events and stuff, he's always super open to that. And this is the place you're going to want to do it at. So make sure you guys are hitting him up. He's the manager here.
Yeah, they had an amazing show last night, and all the proceeds donated to.
I don't want to say the wrong one.
Hold on, I'm double check that one before. I was just looking at it.
And it looked really fun. I saw a lot of Snapchats of people that were here.
Yes, and shout out to my wife, Hill. She's in
shout
the
out
chats,
to Hill,
allowing me to come here every day, or not every day.
And
Saturday.
She keeps the chat alive. She's the one that's in there, always got something to say, good or bad.
And
we love her.
The proceeds went to Socket.
Yeah.
That got in that motorcycle accident.
Yep. It's going to his family. Proceeds to the family.
And condolences to the Socket, to that family, and what they're going through. So condolences from the Justice League to that family.
Yes. So again, you have been watching the Justice League podcast show, sponsored by Hensel Law, Bullwhackers Lounge,
and hopefully Dr. Mike too.
Yes. So catch us next Saturday from 2 to 4. We are signing out.
Peace.
See
you next week.
Thank you again, Dr.
Mike.
Yeah, appreciate you. We'll catch y'all motherfuckers. Hang in there.
All right, we out.